weeks, but will the 44th president's stimulus package be the right thing to pull the country from its economic slump? The Watchdog on Wall Street, Chris Markowski, recently stopped by to discuss this hotly debated topic. See, it's big, right? We were talking about a pretty behemoth thing here.
Yeah, I mean, I actually instituted one in the kingdom of Markowski back at my house.
Ah, okay.
You know, King Mark. Oh, no, I'm not the king. I just work there. I'm the secretary of the treasury.
Yeah.
My wife, the queen.
The queen, yes.
The queen says that, you know what, we're going to stimulate the economy of the kingdom of Markowski, and we're going to start paying my kindergartner for the pictures he brings home. And the daughter, you know, every single time my daughter gives me a kiss, maybe I'll give her some money too. Oh. You know, I'm trying to, you know, bring it up to this. If we're just going to dump money all over the country, it's not going to work. You know, they're talking about shovel-ready projects. They're talking about, you know, water slides in Florida, snowmaking machines in Minnesota. We do not need to see a huge pork mess right now, because that's what got us into trouble in the first place. I hope Barack Obama, I'm rooting for the guy. I want him to do well. He's talking about all this transparency, where this money is going to go. What we really need to have is some real free market principles to get this economy going.
Because that's the thing. It's a, you know, he's talking about, it's good that we're going to know where it's going to go, but the problem is we know where it comes from. And where it comes from is the pockets of taxpayers. The thing that people don't understand often is that the government doesn't create anything. It's the private sector that's got to get us out of this. So what are some of those free market things?
Well, I mean, I talked about this a year ago. I said we wouldn't have even been in this mess if we had made tax cuts permanent, if we cut the corporate tax. Here's the little thing that most people don't understand. When you go to Starbucks, okay, you're paying Starbucks' corporate tax. Corporations don't pay taxes. People pay taxes. Corporations nothing more than a tax ID number and a logo. They don't have a tree in their back where they collect the money from. We all pay it. You do these various different things, you're going to attract a lot more business. You're going to stimulate the economy the right way by having companies want to invest and hire more people.
All right, so when we're talking taxes, what are some of the most targeted things that you think you could do? Obviously the corporate tax. What else as far as individuals?
I think corporate tax. I think making the Bush tax cuts permanent is good because it takes uncertainty out of the air. We still don't know. Is it going to go away? Is it going to stay? Who knows? It's 2010. It's an election year. You know, what are the politics going to be at that point in time? And a lot of people make decisions based upon that. Big point. I also think I would eliminate the capital gains tax, especially on distressed assets. If you've got people out there saying, you know what, I'm going to go out and take a flyer on some, you know, condo complex that is in foreclosure, give them the opportunity to make money on that, but also give them the capital gains tax cut as well.
Has the United States become a bailout nation? Are we in danger of Big Brother becoming too big and taking over our lives? Well, Chris Markowski, the Watchdog on Wall Street, stopped by to talk about the repercussions of big government. Let's start by talking about, because it does feel like to some degree we're becoming a bailout nation. But one of the distinctions you and I have talked about before is this $700 billion. And what a lot of people didn't understand was this was not just some sort of handout to the banking industry.
Yeah. The original TARP, and this is why a lot of the politicians are upset, it was designed to go to buy up bad assets, bad mortgages. Henry Paulson says, well, this is not such a good idea because, you know what, we're not going to be able to price these things. It's not going to help matters. So what he instead did is basically created a hedge fund, a good hedge fund. What they did is they went in and they loaned money to certain financial institutions, but they also took stock in those financial institutions as well. They've only used $350 billion of the $700 billion. The government is already up on their investment already.
They're taking interest on these.
Not just that, but the stock values have gone up as well. It wasn't a blank check. When you think of the word bailout, this is how it was sold horribly. They're saying, you know, this is a bailout, we're giving money to these banks. Wrong. If the president had come out and said, you know what, we're investing in these banks to keep the financial system working, and then you know what, when we make money on this deal down the road, we're going to cut everybody a check back. He didn't do that. The rules of the TARP say that half the money has to go to the debt, and whoever's in power is going to have a hell of a nice slush fund.
Yeah, and that should be something people are clear on because they are making money already. This wasn't a loss.
There's not going to be a loss. Plus, there's a definite need to keep the financial system working.
Okay, so, but as we go forward, though, and the bailouts, or whatever we're calling them, go into the private sector past banking. They go to auto. They go to all these different industries. You had Larry Flint and Joe Francis saying porn needs a bailout. We're getting into dangerous territory here, are we not?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been lucky enough, and I've got family over in Europe, and I've been all over the world. And when you go to countries that end up having the government in various different industries, whether they be in airlines, whether they be, that's when you end up with strikes and people out of work and all sorts of big problems. We just saw major riots in Greece not long ago, and a lot of that, it wasn't just due to the fact that, some kid got shot. The kids there don't have jobs. 25% unemployment if you're a graduate, high school graduate. It's horrible. Even college graduate. Young people can't get jobs. This is a repercussion. The government cannot get in and be the mommy state. They can't take everything over. We need to have some creative destruction. Joseph Schumpeter called that, where some things have to go. We don't have many blacksmiths anymore. Right. The horse industry took a big hit when we started having cars. It's going to happen.
Yeah. So, and we have to adapt. Well, are recessions a necessary evil for the good of the economy, or are they just plain evil? The watchdog on Wall Street, Chris Markowski, was here to lend some of his insight into this subject.
You guys, you fan of the movies at all, obviously?
Yeah.
You guys talk about it here all the time. I'm a big believer that Godfather 1 and 2, you could go see those about 100 times. You don't need to take an MBA class. Because you can learn a lot about economics. You can learn a lot about economics.
A lot of life lessons.
There's a scene in Godfather 1 when they're Clemenza's teaching Michael down the basement with the gun.
Yes.
And he's talking about, Michael's asking what's going to happen after this whole thing, after he shoots the captain and Sollozzo. And he's like, well, it's going to be bad. There's going to be a war. But these things need to happen. The bad blood needs to come out of the system. And that's what recessions are. It's the bad blood leaving the system. It allows for new things to come. It allows for more creation to take place and getting rid of all the junk. We have to have recessions.
Some people think it's just always a negative thing, where it isn't.
No. Yeah, and it's one of the things about, I always say to people, I'm a fan of the capitalist system, but I will always say to people who love socialism, whatever, it's not perfect, by no means, but this is what happens in the capitalist system. There's those ebb and flow. We got too big, there's a lot of crap, as you said, and now it's getting weeded out.
Oh, and I hope that people will realize that, and they'll understand that, yes, we're seeing stores go under, but you know what, there's a reason why that store went under. Right. There's a reason why this business failed. There's a reason why we don't have typewriter factories anymore. Right? I mean, if we had them, then we wouldn't have computers, we wouldn't have the internet, and all these various different things. This is why we have to avoid the government stepping in and bailing things out, because that's basically staving off creation and better things for the future.
And even though this time is tough, there are opportunities out there for people. And it's not always a bad time to take a risk, correct? These are the times that you can take the risk.
Absolutely. And you take a look at, prior recessions and prior downturns, it's the companies that actually really innovated and got aggressive during those points of times that ended up coming up top. I think I've talked about this weeks ago here on the show. Procter & Gamble during the Great Depression, rather than back off, it actually marketed itself to a greater degree and ended up becoming the standard bearer. Right now, retail companies are taking a hit. They're going to have to go back and say, how are we going to do things better? How are we going to bring more people in our stores? And the real innovators are going to be the ones that make it out.
And you can do that on an individual level. Absolutely. I mean, if you're looking around in your community, and granted, you got to do your homework, but maybe there's an opportunity that you can seize on that you say, hey, this is a great opportunity for me to have a small business, and the prices on getting started on that small business are that much cheaper right now.
One of the things I hate most of, there's 24 hours in a day. There's not a day that doesn't go by that I'm not driving around and I don't say, wow, that'd be a great business, that'd be a great thing to do. You need to act upon those things, because that's what makes this country great, and that's what makes this country work. It's the small business owner. They're the ones that drive the economy. It's not the GMs, it's not the Fords, it's the small business guys.